December 9th, Saint Peter Fourier, Parish Priest, reformer of the canons of St. Augustine, and founder of the Canonesses of Notre Dame. This priest of God was consecrated to him before and at his birth by his pious parents who destined their eldest son for the altars. His aptitude for study, his high stature and beauty added the gifts of nature to those of grace. The young man was noted in particular for his devotion to the Mother of God and his great modesty. It was a surprise to all when he chose to consecrate himself to God in a religious order which, at that time, had degenerated from its original fervor, that of the canons of St. Augustine. He made application for entrance into the abbey of Chaumouze, founded in 1094, and was situated a short distance from his native village of Mirecourt in Lorraine. There he made the traditional vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience in the year 1587, and was ordained a priest in February of 1589. Before saying his first Mass, he passed several months of retreat in the exercises of prayer, penance, and tears. He was then sent to complete his theological studies at the University of Pont-à-Mousson, also in Lorraine. There, Father Jean Fourier, a relative who was rector at that university, directed him admirably. His progress in virtue and the sacred sciences placed him high in the opinion of the Cardinal of Lorraine and Bishop of Metz, who desired to have him in his diocese. He offered him a parish where his talents would bring him advancement, but the young priest, wishing to flee all honors, declined to return to his abbey. There, hell instigated against him a persecution. He was the brunt of threats and intrigues, and an effort was made to poison him, which did not succeed. For 2 years he lived in the midst of contradictions, without complaining in any way to his abbot, who seemed unaware of what was happening. He increased in patience and kindness toward his persecutors. Eventually he was again offered a choice of 3 parishes, 2 of which would provide opportunity for advancement, while the third was in a village regarded as incorrigible and backward. It was the last one that he chose. The people there were prosperous, but more than indifferent to religion. The sacraments were neglected, and the feast days profaned. The altars were bare, and the church was deserted when he arrived. He began by assembling 2 or 3 families to talk them through the truths of the faith. He did not go to the banquets which followed the funerals and weddings, save to offer the prayer of blessing or make a short exhortation. He did not accept a housekeeper even when his own stepmother offered to assist him. He prayed for the greater part of every night, and never refused to go where he was called, at any time or in any season. So little did he need for himself that he was able to give alms and assistance to the poor. He desired to remedy the evils of the times by forming children to virtue, and Providence soon brought to him several young women who offered themselves for the instruction of young girls. Within the space of only a few years, 6 schools were founded in the region, and before he died, about 40. Blessed Alice Leclerc was the first sister and the first superior of the Canonesses of Notre Dame, dedicated to the education of young women. For this purpose, St. Peter was obliged to confide his parish to his vicar for a time, to journey and obtain the various permissions and assistance necessary. But it was God's work, and all efforts succeeded. Bishops were asking him to visit their parishes to preach missions where needed. The holy priest obeyed, amid his increasing tears and penance as he perceived the vices and ignorance of the populations. He was also concerned to re-establish the discipline and fervor of his own order, an effort which had failed several times. But in the year 1621, the Bishop of Toul, Monseigneur de Porcelet, entrusted his work to Father Peter Fourier. A house was found to begin the reform. The vacant ancient abbey of St. Remy and 6 excellent subjects were sent there under his direction. In 4 years, 8 houses of the order had adopted the reform. A superior general was named. For a time, Father Fourier was able to avoid that office, but when the good superior died, he was obliged to accept its function. Attacked by the devil, his influence distorted by false and defamatory statements, St. Peter's only response was to spread everywhere devotion to the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin. More than 2 centuries before the miraculous medal in 1830 and the proclamation of the dogma in 1854, he saw to the distribution of large quantities of the medal he had struck, on which were engraved the words, "Mary was conceived without sin." Saint Peter Fourier died in exile as an effect of the difficulties and political problems of the 1630s. In the year 1730, Benedict XIII published the decree of his beatification, and Leo XIII canonized him in the year 1897.